Okay, so this is the pilot episode of the Option Menu Crew podcast. We got 4 of us here today. I'm Ryan. We've got Mark.
Hello.
We've got Paul.
Hello.
And we got Mike.
Hey.
So we're recording. We're just in a kitchen right now, so pardon us if it's a little bit echoey. We've also got some really cute cats in the background that might jump around. So please enjoy that and understand they are really cute. And today we're just kind of getting started, and we're going to talk about the games we've been playing recently. And today is Friday the 13th of December 2019, so that's fun. And so we're hoping we can defy the bad luck. And there, we got a Christmas clock going on in the background, so I think that tells us it's a good start.
Too. My house is very festive. I'm sorry. I'm preparing for the holidays.
No need to apologize for being festive, Paul. That's just how you got to do it. No, yeah, even the tabletop has.
You like that? Yeah.
Christmas decorated cats.
Christmas cats, yes.
We're really festive here, so that's pretty fun. So I'll start. And I just recently finished playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I played it on PC, on the Steam version, and it is available on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And of course, you could also get it on the EA Origin client, although since Fallen Order was like the first game that EA started putting on Steam after sequestering all their games onto Origin. There's like a mini launcher that still goes. So technically you still have to use Origin with Fallen Order. But for those who weren't familiar with the game, it's a Star Wars adventure set between the end of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and the first Star Wars movie, Episode 4, A New Hope. And it takes place in that period where Order 66, I think it's like 3 or 4 years after Order 66 is executed, and all the Jedi are being executed and hunted down by the Empire. Darth Vader is around, of course. You're playing as a Padawan in hiding named Cal Kestis. And he's been hiding out from the Empire on this Junker planet. And you learn...
that he's raised dead. That he's raised dead.
You learn about how he escaped into hiding, and that his connection to the Force has kind of been damaged because he's been trying to hide it and not use his powers. But circumstances have caused him to get on a journey where he needs to rediscover his Jedi training, and you kind of grow your powers in that regard to start kind of taking on the Empire and embrace a new destiny.
How was playing as that new lead character for the first time? Somebody that was brand new to Star Wars after you were playing it all the way through? Was it somebody that you would play another game with, or what?
Yeah, by the end of the game, I definitely feel like he's a likable character, Cal. I think the actor... I forget who exactly the actor is, because actually they do some really good facial capture for these people. Like, they look like real people, and it really feels like a Star Wars movie. That was the insane part. And since it is a video game, like, all the aliens and stuff are animated super well. Like, it feels so Star Wars-y. It's amazing. And even the opening mission, like, just the music and stuff. But his character starts out pretty bland. The actor is from, I believe it's the guy who played the Joker in the Gotham TV series. So that's the guy, for anyone who has the reference. I'm sorry, I don't know his name off the top of my head. But he does a great job, and I think he does a really good job because he's like a stereotypical video game protagonist. He has to start from like this place of nothing, and he's just like, well, yeah, I kind of have this mysterious past and was in hiding, but I really have to discover myself. So he starts out pretty generic, but he goes on a very believable, very relatable journey of self-discovery and like tale of growing up and hero's journey of like, what am I going to do with my destiny? This greater destiny is calling me, and you know, how am I going to deal with this? So yeah, I really liked him. By the end of it, definitely it seemed very fun. His name is
Cameron Monaghan.
Okay, and Paul, what do you want to say?
So I'm just curious. I like Star Wars. I a huge fan. I didn't necessarily grow up with Star Wars, so I don't have that attachment like a lot of people do. I do like the movies, but I'm not. I don't know a ton about the whole Star Wars universe. So maybe you can't answer this. I'm not sure, but I'm just curious. So you said this takes place in between episodes 3 and 4. Was this a known story already? Like, I know there's a lot of like Star Wars books and like Star Wars lore in the whole universe or whatever. Was this a known story? Or did they create it specifically for the video game? Do you know? I'm not sure if you know. I'm just kind of curious.
No, good question. I am not familiar too much with the old expanded universe that was in the books and stuff. And as many people are probably aware, and just saying for everyone here around the table, is we got a very variety of experiences, but we're all still immersed in nerd culture in general. All the expanded universe content has been like deemed completely non-canon, and Disney is just kind of harvesting the stuff for inspiration and picking and choosing pieces to build their new canon. As far as I know, this story was not told before, although there may be aspects, because it's definitely been explored about what's happening in that time period, because it's a huge gap between the end of the prequel trilogy and the start of what is the original trilogy. What are you shaking your head for?
Nobody could see this, but Mike looked really angry about what
he was shaking his head like he didn't like something I was saying, which I'm just not sure.
Like
what
you had this like disgusted.
Oh, okay. Little crosstalk there. That's fun. But yeah, and as far as I know, this is actually considered now a canon story. Like ever since,
pretty cool.
I think like the Clone Wars cartoons, the Rebels cartoons, and all the current movies and like side shows and the ongoing Mandalorian series at this point, those are all canon, and actually this video game story is canon, and it's really cool because they actually have Saw Gerrera from Rogue One, and this takes place before Rogue One in the timeline, and so he's in there Forrest Whitaker, I believe, is the actor, and he's in there. He is mocapped, and it is his voice, and he reprises the same character, which was awesome. They showed it off in the trailer, so that's not a spoiler, but like him actually in the game is like, it's such a cool moment. And then
I like it.
Yeah, what's up?
So I heard that like Disney was censoring like the game a little bit with like stormtroopers and stuff, like not, showing them getting sliced up and stuff.
Oh yeah, so let me get into the gameplay then, because a lot of people have been describing it as very Dark Souls-like, or I heard this on the Giant Bomb cast or the Giant Beast cast. I forget which one said it, but this pun, and I'm mad because I love puns. Darth Souls, and I was just like, oh, it's so good. So yes, it's very similar to Dark Souls in that the environments are big, interconnected spaces. There's pathways, but then there's like you can jump between things, which that's awesome that you can jump. You can't really jump in Dark Souls. And you will unlock shortcuts, literally like tells you when you unlock a shortcut. Yeah. So you can intertwine and go around. So even kind of like Metroidvania, you could say it is a bit, with real-time, third-person action gameplay. The way is, it's very deliberate style combat. Like when you press a button, like your character has a certain kind of swing animation, a certain amount of recovery. So it's very similar to those FromSoft games. But I would say it's not so much... It's very similar to Dark Souls, but I'd say it's most closely to Sekiro, which was recently published by Activision. And at the time of this recording, the Game Awards have named it the Game of the Year for 2019, which was a big surprise to me. It's a great game, and I did beat it, but I think it's still flawed, and in general, the difficulty of FromSoft games I take some issues with. But that's just me personally. I respect the games a lot. But yeah, there's a certain deliberate difficulty to it, which is cool and refreshing. And it's more like you don't have a stamina meter that governs like your swinging and dodging and all like your actions. Instead, you have a parry gauge, which is what Sekiro had for like the sword play, because you like were trying to break people's guards. And when you break the guards, you can either deal a ton of damage, or if you get like a true parry and press the attack button, you'll do like an insta-kill, which can end conflicts quickly, and that's kind of where your skill builds up. You understand how to take on the variety of enemies and do that. So, I mean, Disney is very careful about their Star Wars level of violence, because obviously it is still a violent franchise to keep the stakes high, but they're very careful about where they do gore and things. I mean, you do get a lightsaber the entire game, but you're not really, lightsabers burn through things, so they don't create blood spatters and whatnot. But yeah, the stormtroopers, when you're cutting them, You never actually like dismember any of them. You will like do stabs, and it'll just be like a clean stab, and there'll be like a burn mark on their chest or something. Or for the most part, they don't even show like the marks. The character models will just pop out after a few seconds if they've been sitting around. But you'll fight also different various like alien wildlife, and those you'll actually like cut in different ways. And it is pre-canned animations. You'll see the same ones over and over again. But like for killing animations on big creatures, you'll see Cal like slice off an arm or a leg and then deliver like a killing blow. Or for some of like the smaller to mid-sized creatures, he will literally cut them in half, either horizontal or vertical, based on like what type of swing you're doing. And so like you see like the glow and stuff. It's not bloody. It's just like they'll literally fall in half and stuff, which is cool. But yeah, I kind of get it. I just kind of expect that, so it doesn't really bother me. It is weird, but Disney sees Star Wars as both as an all ages franchise. So we've got the violence for the adults, but they keep the gore down because of kids.
So do you remember what the rating was? Because they probably took out all the gore so that it would be more accessible to the wider audience.
It's probably teen. It's probably teen. It might be E10, but I think it's teen.
Yeah,
it's definitely not
right.
M-rated.
Well, yeah, likely more teen if it's got all the violence.
And there's no swearing, so that's another thing. Like that could have bumped it up to an M rating, but yeah, Disney's really careful. There might be like a damn or a hell or something in there, but that's about it.
Did you play Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2?
I played the demo for Force Unleashed 1, and I thought it was pretty fun, but I didn't end up buying them. Back then, I didn't have as much disposable income, so I didn't really get to try them out, and I haven't really rented them since, and it's kind of... I don't think they've been re-released on the current consoles, but I would be interested in...
You can play it backwards compatible on Xbox.
Okay, but if that means I have to, like I'd want to rent those, because I heard the reviews, they were kind of like 7 out of 10s from what I've seen on Metacritic, so I've prioritized other games over them, but I've heard decent things, but it's different. Like,
yeah, I was just wondering how they compared.
Yeah, so for everyone on the table, I'm not sure how much this reference will make sense, but like I would say Force Unleashed was way more like Devil May Cry, like a straightforward like slasher, and also using your force powers to a really crazy degree. Like that was kind of the whole point, is your character could do also was like throwing TIE fighters and like pulling Star Destroyers out of the sky in the trailer and stuff. Whereas with this, it's much more grounded. Like in the movies, you don't see too many crazy things. Like you do fight like an ATST by yourself, hand to hand, and you like reflect blaster bolts and shoot back their rockets with the force powers. But for the most part, you'll grab people and you'll get force powers like pull and push, and you can like upgrade the skill tree so you can like pull slightly bigger enemies or have a bigger effect. And Cal does have some unique force powers. Like he actually gets like a force slowdown power, which is like one of his unique abilities he's got. And so you use that, and eventually you can do like an AoE effect, but you'll like cause the enemy to move slower for a couple seconds, giving you a chance to just get a free hit in. Or in a crowd control situation, you can like freeze one dude while you focus on another and kind of balance that out.
Cool. So gameplay was good. You played this on Steam?
Yeah, on the PC.
Do you feel like it was ported over to PC, or do you think it was designed to be played? It was likely designed to be played on PC, likely for 4K textures and all that. Do you have a 4K monitor?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually play on a 4K TV with my computer hooked up to it, and it is an LG OLED. So I have a pretty premium experience when it comes to that.
Yeah. Everything looked fantastic.
I ran it at
realistic.
1440p. I did get a solid 60 frames per second. For the most part, there's a few little hitches, but I think that was mostly like texture loading and stuff. On consoles, I definitely heard it runs at 30, and it was kind of buggy. I ran into just a couple of little bugs. Visuals, there was a little bit of pop-in and stuff like that, but nothing too crazy. I did have one minor bug where a treasure chest wouldn't open. Like you end up getting an ability that requires a certain prompt to unlock locked chests, and it wouldn't unlock.
And that was one thing that you were kind of alluding to earlier, in the sense that there are points throughout the story that you're actually accessing more or less locked areas to go to. Like, how did you feel about that? Because it seemed like there were mixed feelings about whether or not just give me all of, like, let me get to these points now, because why do I need to go back halfway across the map? There's no, quick load points. Just
Yeah.
travel, right? Or
Yeah, there's
travel.
no fast travel, and
Thank you.
the maps are broken up between worlds. So to keep the Star Wars theming, there's planets, and then each planet has like its own area. So that's the only segment that you have. There's no hub world. You have like a ship that you travel on, and it's a small space that's literally there to just be like your elevator essentially between floors, which would be the planets, to put in like simple terms.
Is it straightforward, or is it like Metrovania? Do you have to like backtrack to do stuff? Or is...
Yep, more Metroidvania. There is backtracking, and so you like land at a specific point with your ship when you first get to the planet, and then you sprawl out, and there's branching paths. The game does give you a good amount of signposting, but as you move around, there's like little side areas where you can find points of interest that will give you like extra health or extra force meter, or there's secrets. Mostly in all the chests are customization items, because you can customize your lightsaber, and there's like 4 to 5 points of customization for it. You can get some different clothes for Cal. You can get different skins for the ship you're traveling on, and then you can also get different color schemes for your robot companion, BD1, who is just like, when you see him, he's the combination of basically like a dog and a rabbit. Like any other droid, like he's intelligent, he speaks to you, he speaks in beeps and boops, and Cal can understand him. And so they have that like that kind of one-sided banter back and forth where you don't really know what BD-8 is, and you kind of intuit it based on Cal's responses. But he acts kind of like a dog, but he looks like a rabbit because he's a two-legged thing that like hops around. He's got little antennas on his head and stuff like that. But yeah, you'll sprawl around and you'll find those secrets while still exploring and trying to move forward towards an objective. You get a decent map. There's no mini map, which kind of sucks, but since it is like a multi-tiered 3D environment, you can climb up on things, you can go under stuff, there's multi-levels. It's a decent 3D map, and you can scroll through it. It gets a little tough when things start overlapping and trying to look between the different levels to figure out where everything's connecting. But I managed to get through it with minimum confusion. I had to look up maybe 1 or 2 puzzle solutions because I just didn't quite understand what the game was asking me to do or wanted me to do. And there is definitely some nooks and crannies. It is a super detailed environment. And so you reach one end of the map, essentially, and then usually you'll get called back to the ship. And you actually have to trek all the way back to the ship. Now, you'll unlock shortcuts, and usually, at least in the first part of the game, you're unlocking your force powers. So you'll go through the stage, do your force power event, kind of like a Zelda game where you get like the big item upgrade, and then you use that to help make your way back to the ship, and you'll either discover some new stuff, or there might be some plot events that come, because there's like dialogue while you're walking, and luckily a lot of stuff, a lot of the dialogue happens like you can keep walking. It doesn't really slow you down like it does in some of like some other games where earlier in the generation where they to make sure you're hearing this and to load stuff. It was like that, and it can be difficult because the environments can be challenging, and they're multi-varied, so it's not always smooth. And one of the other things is, because it's borrowing from the FromSoft formula for Dark Souls, when you go to a save point to rest, which refuels your health, your healing item stock, and saves, also all the enemies you've defeated, minus like mid-bosses and stuff like that, and boss characters, will respawn. So on your way back, you will have to fight those guys again, but usually with your new powers, you're like experimenting. And also, it's not really RPG, but you do get like, there's a leveling up system. So you just, as you defeat enemies and you find items in the environment, you'll earn experience points. It fills up a meter. Once it fills up the meter once, you get a point, and then you can go to the skill tree, and you can spend the point, or you can collect the points and then spend them on higher tier skills, and you unlock more branches of the skill tree as you progress through the game.
Does he turn to the dark side at the end?
I can't say, because that would be a huge...
You trying to ruin it for everyone?
But I will say it does leave things open for continuing a story. And I would greatly enjoy a sequel. And I think it's really impressive because Respawn is the developer. They're the people who developed Titanfall 1 and 2, and most recently Apex Legends. And they were primarily, self-admittedly, a first-person shooter company. studio, and this is their like first third-person action game, and the results were amazing. It's definitely got a few bugs and hitches there, but if you play it on PC, you're going to have a really good time. The console versions are mostly patched, so I think they're mostly unintended frustration is mostly gone. But yeah, it's definitely worthwhile. And of course, if you're a huge Star Wars fan, like the Star Wars storytelling is amazing in there, or really good. I don't want to oversell it, but it is really good and definitely worth the time playing.
So overall, good game. Definitely something to check out.
Heck yeah.
What would you give it a rating out of 10? Let's hear it.
I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Solid.
Yeah, very good. It's got some flaws. There's some stuff. I definitely am left wanting more. That's the best thing I can say about it. But there's just
that's
I think the main
mark
thing
of a good game.
Yeah, I think mostly my complaints are that there is some technical issues. Respawning enemies is kind of frustrating, especially since there's just some weird pacing where you get multiple enemy types. And actually, if you've played any of the Batman Arkham games, you'll understand this, is where they start mixing and matching enemy types, and each enemy kind of has like a specific way that's best to deal with them, and some are more complicated and some are less complicated. But you're not real. Batman at least is kind of meant to bounce between enemies and deal with those groups. Mm-hmm. And while you do get more force powers and abilities that kind of do that, the game's core combat is still not really about fighting off groups. It's about like these one-on-one encounters and then efficiently taking them out. You get better at that with the skills and as you experiment more, but it's still, there's times where it feels like it not quite balanced right, because you've got enemies shooting rapid fire blasters from these ledges and you need to reflect them, but then you've got these little guys that are attacking you and knocking you out and will rush you, as they should. It's the more realistic way, but like you don't really feel, with all the deliberate animation, it doesn't necessarily feel exactly like you're equipped to do that. And that is part of Cal's journey of becoming from a Padawan to more like a Jedi Knight, and becoming more experienced. But as a player, it doesn't even feel tight enough for you to kind of deal with that sometimes. And then also, like, it's cool that there's tons of free customization items in there, but they don't like affect stats or gameplay at all. It's really all just aesthetic. And I just feel like that's not... For me, it wasn't super valuable. I kind of just found the look I liked for Cal. I didn't even change the colors for BD1 or the ship, because I'm like, there's no point in changing the colors of them. It just doesn't matter. I messed around with the lightsaber just to make it a little cooler, but ultimately I didn't feel like changing it too much, because I'm like, also, there's a story behind the lightsabers as well. And it just, for me, I kind of had my own idea of how to keep it lore accurate. So some of that stuff didn't feel as valuable. There's no new game plus mode, even though it would be probably pretty fun to do that, go through the whole game again on a higher difficulty with all your skills. Even though, or at least with the skill tree unlocked from the start, so you can use your advanced skills as soon as you get the plot powers. But yeah.
Do you have a purple lightsaber?
You can
Sweet.
Get a purple lightsaber.
It's throwback.
So, yeah, you do get to choose your lightsaber colors at a point.
Nice.
Yeah, that's me.
Cool. All right, so lately, my big focus for the last pretty much 3 months has all been Gears 5. Gears 5 came out right in the beginning of September 2019, and most recently they had this was kind of like their big 2.0 patch, launched on December 11th, so just a couple days after now. I haven't actually dove into a lot of the content myself. The biggest piece is the free-for-all. So essentially you're faced with, I believe it's 16 people in that tight quarters, close combat, shotguns everywhere, non-stop action. Looks hella fun. Definitely something I want to check out. I don't think they'll allow any squad, people partying up or anything like that into the free-for-all. But either way, it would be a ton of fun to kind of kill some time with. But yeah, Gears 5, I mean, the biggest thing that it's sold me on is it has something for whatever amount of time you're looking to play games. If you're looking to play for a solid 3+ hours, you've got Horde that you could just maybe not even finish within those 3 hours. The campaign, I think, was about a 10+ hour campaign. I beat that relatively early on. I had a ton of fun with that, but really what's hooked me has been their verses.
How'd you feel about the campaign in comparison to like the other games? Because I know Gears has kind of prided itself on having like a meaningful campaign among like, you know, shooters, and it's a third-person shooter. But, you know, how'd you feel about
Right.
that
So
as a longtime Gears fan?
yeah, as a longtime Gears fan, beat every single one of them except for the one that nobody talks about, Judgment.
Is it really that bad, or do you just feel...
No, we just, as far as Judgment goes, it was just, I think it came out just before 360's life cycle was ending, and it, you know, it's kind of like right now, like if you don't buy Jedi Fallen Order right now, you're unfortunately likely not to buy it, at least on the console side. On PC, of course, there's really no true, you know, expiration date with video games, but yeah, the story was great. I would probably put that at my top couple stories. I don't know if I want to say top 3 or top even 2. It really drew me in. There was a lot of suspense at the end of 4, and they kind of leaked and more or less spoiled some things. If you follow a lot of the news and just the marketing, as I was quite heavily, so I was trying to, you know, avoid looking at trailers and all of that. But overall, really enjoyed the campaign myself. Definitely want to play it another time or two just to make sure I, you know, don't miss any sort of hidden cookies, because Gears always tends to have that as well.
Oh, don't they have like some promotion thing in the cookie packages for?
Yes.
Oh, you bought it the one day we were hanging out. I remember that. That's right.
Yes, I did get my free, well, quote unquote free, but they offered promotional Chips Ahoy cookie codes that gave you Xbox Live promos, gave you Game Pass promos, even gave you in-game currency, which of course I maxed all my Chips Ahoy cookie promo codes.
Buying Chips Ahoy every day.
Oh yeah, had to.
Nice.
But yeah, they've actually had a couple others, as they normally do, usually with I think Monster or Red Bull. I can't remember. I don't drink that personally, but I do know that they usually have a pretty good repertoire with the community as far as, you know, offering a lot to whatever you're looking for. And again, going back to my original point of just, you know, if you've got the game, you don't have anybody else to play, you've got a solid campaign. You know, you could also jump on and play that new game mode Escape with 2 other people now, which is, you know, you can play a 3-player campaign, 3-player Escape. Horde goes up to 5, versus, of course, is up to 5 as well for the party. Yeah.
Now, I know you're focused more on the versus side, and
hit or miss.
Okay.
I've committed more time into Horde than anything else. I think I'm well over 20 hours of Horde, and maybe half that with versus.
And Gears is known for pioneering the Horde mode as its big like namestay thing. But for the campaign, I heard there's some different like aspects to it. Like there's kind of a semi-open world thing. You get like a travel vehicle. You know, compared to the other campaigns, you know, how did you feel about that like kind of format change? Did you like, what aspects did you like, or, you know, would you prefer it to go back kind of more to like on the foot, just kind of progressing through like twisting and turning through maps style? Or, you know, what's your opinion on that regard?
From what I gathered, this was quote unquote the very first true take that the Coalition had, that they could do pretty much anything they want, which is why they dropped Of War out of the title. Gears of War 4, I know they were the primary studio, but I believe they were taking that on from Epic at the time. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure on the timing of all of that, but I know Gears 5 was kind of the first, like, this is their baby, so they were trying to do everything and anything that they could. As far as the campaign goes, I did enjoy that open world element. It was definitely unique, but it was a 4-act campaign, which was the shortest they've ever had in the Gears campaign. And 2 out of the 4 were focused on that open world. You hop on this little, almost like a jet ski kind of thing, powered by the wind, and you
Skiff, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Skiff. I couldn't think of the name there. Which was unique because, again, it had never happened before, and it really allowed you to, like, you didn't really know what sort of missions you were going toward, but you were exploring very new territories, all in the same map, but, you know, each had its own kind of unique element. I did have only one glitch in the whole game, and it was during the campaign, and that would be when I had somebody else join a game session that I was already in, and I have a feeling they joined right as I was finishing that checkpoint, and I just never got credit, and I never could unlock this unique skill that I could never get back through the rest of the campaign. So I need to beat it again to get this unlock.
Are you saying there's like some sort of like drop in, drop out co-op in the campaign?
Yeah, so I again also was also on PC through the Xbox Store, through Game Pass Ultimate, that is, and yeah, I can have people drop in, drop out if I want. Usually, I have it open.
Is it a setting so you can like turn it on and off if you want to close it?
Similar to Horde, similar to.
Can you do on, off, and private just to like friends only?
Well, I don't think there's a setting to have it like public necessarily. So I don't think that anybody, Joe Schmo just can't hop into your campaign and just troll you essentially. Okay. But I think it would be limited to friends only or invite only is probably the two options.
Okay, because I think like in Borderlands they've had options like that similar because they're also very drop in, drop out focused on their campaign, and I think you can do like, at least from my experience in 1 and 2, I believe had the settings of. Yeah, you could do, obviously, just solo, and then you can invite friends, solo private, and then open matchmaking, and random people can just jump in your game or get dropped in your game.
Yeah. So I've had a lot of time with Escape. Escape is kind of that brand new mode, again, also this year, with more of a checkpoint or quick chapters. You could essentially beat almost any Escape map in about 20 minutes or less. You've got a whole leaderboard, and you get different amounts of XP depending on where you rank after each sort of week or session for that map. It's a very cool, instead of Horde where you hunker down and you build up your reinforcements and you're just trying to murder everything. This one, you're literally trying to escape. Like, if you don't, you're going to die from this quote-unquote venom, coming up from behind in the map. And it's a very cool concept. I just wish they kind of expanded it out, because right now, like, the main focus is on these 3 brand new characters, Keegan, Lonnie, and Mac, and they have no tie. There's zero tie from Escape into the story. Who knows if that's going to change in the future? It certainly can, but I think it ties more with a book series that I haven't necessarily dove into myself.
That cross media.
Yes. So, yeah, Escape is super cool. And I've been enjoying that as well.
Well, I was just curious if you were done. I don't know if you had more to say, but I was curious about your rating out of 10.
Yeah, so I would personally probably give it a 9.0, if not higher.
Wow.
There's a ton. Well, like, there's a ton. Like, if you have 20 minutes, you could hop on, do a quick escape map, and then you could be done. If you want to get some, get the headphones on and just get immersed in that story, you've got that great story. If you want to just grind in some multiplayer for hours on end with friends, everything and anything is there. Certainly, it's all that third person shooter, but it's been a great time.
Now, as a quick follow up, where would you rank this with compared to the rest of the series overall? Because I know you said you've played everything, and where would you put this particular game as compared to everything else?
Yeah, and I think the community is pretty mixed as far as where this one is going to end up, because I know that there were quite a few hiccups, and still to this day there's a little bit of more or less matchmaking, and that's for a whole nother conversation. But I would likely put this behind Gears 2 and 3 as being my all-time favorites. I thought Gears 4 was still fantastic. Gears 1 was, brand new, but Gears 2 for me, what really made it was just how they were really giving back to the community toward the end of the life cycle. I still to this day will never forget, I was getting 22 XP multipliers, which was just insane. Everybody was prestiging up the wazoo. It was just so fun. And then Gears 3 was just, more of that. And then just the Series 3.0 and just the big focus on Horde and just being able to now play as the Locust was super fun. So Gears 5 was probably behind Gears 2 and 3. It's
good.
So yeah, considering you're a longtime Gears fan and you've played basically every aspect of these games, I did want to ask, because I've heard some opinions that, and this is something that's just naturally happening, is it's a long-running series, and it's kind of going on. It's changed developers. It
scares me, Ryan.
It's following a path like Halo, where, there's kind of a reinvention going on, and there's different types of fans. So, based on your experience with 5, which was extremely positive, and how things are going, if you had to say for Gears 6, what would you like to see more of, and what do you think you'd prefer to have excluded to make like Gears 6 kind of like the ideal package, both like campaign and versus, because obviously the versus is trying new things, but that's not always the best thing, especially when you're trying to make sure online has not a splintered population.
I don't want to sound biased, but I literally would tell the coalition to cover their ears and just don't listen to half the community. I think everybody just has been so negative since the launch, and I think it was just like the expectations of something else, and we just want Gears 1 again.
Yeah.
And it's get over it at this point. Like we're past that. Like we've got a brand new studio. Let them speak their own creative language, and I think they did that perfectly. Certainly there's some things and there were some hiccups along the way, but who cares? Like, let's get over it. And I know we're 3 months into hopefully a few years, as a games of service. There's minor microtransactions and all of that, but you don't have to spend a penny on any of this stuff. You don't get an arm or a leg up on somebody else that doesn't buy, this fancy schmancy marker label or a crazy skin to make Mac look like a truck driver or anything like that. Like, you don't need to buy those things. If you want to support the developers, which I may because I've only spent a couple bucks on Game Pass and I've got that for the next couple of years.
Yeah,
I spent $0 on Gears 5 to date.
Or just buy like a full copy of it just to have it.
That's always an option, and I know it's on sale currently for the holidays.
Even then, yeah. But I meant so it sounds like you like the new new direction they took with the campaign. So you wouldn't mind if it was still like, and I've got multiple parts here, but like, so you wouldn't mind it having more or playing around with like the open nature or more like open map in the campaign.
The open map, like, I think that absolutely helped tell the story that they were looking to tell.
Okay.
And I don't think that there's any spoilers with that, but just it was basically two main characters, or more or less three, if you include the little robot guy. But
sure. They
were kind of off doing their own thing. So, like, you were not in the, normal squad of Delta Squad, essentially. So, like, it was designed, I think, intentionally that way. But I wouldn't mind if that, came back. I don't think it necessarily would. Because I think that there was a little bit
or
of
some
pushback.
aspects,
right?
You wouldn't mind them being creative. You didn't dislike what they did here. Then with the versus, because obviously, like, that's a big thing, is making sure playlists are full. Like, Horde mode is the signature mode of Gears, and they have deathmatch and team deathmatch is like standard things.
Team
right?
deathmatch, King of the Hill, Guardian are like your three core.
What's Guardian?
Guardian is one leader on each team, is kind of like gold, and you have to kill him before you can kill any. Well,
it's like an objective kind of thing, but
more or less, yeah. So everyone will keep respawning until you kill the leader of the other team.
Okay,
then
cool.
Once that leader is killed, everyone on that team will no longer respawn. So it's a very chess match, back and forth tug of war, because you want to hide your leader, but at the same time you want to have those five guys trying to find their leader to kill him. Or her.
Yeah, and so you like the escape mode, and you said you just want them to do more of it?
Yeah, I've played a lot of Escape just because it's so accessible. So I've played 20 or 30 minutes a night just here and there just to play a quick brand new map that they released, and then I'll turn it off. And, like, I'll admit it's not my favorite game mode, but it's still very enjoyable, and it is still Gears. It's just a new element of now escaping and running, and not really focusing too much on cover and hunkering down, such as Horde.
I also heard there's an arcade mode, and it didn't sound like you mentioned that. Like, what is the arcade mode?
There is an arcade mode. It's not one that I played the most of the arcade mode, honestly, during the beta testing, and I've played it maybe 2 or 3 times, if that.
How does it work?
It's basically a great way to kind of check out new guns, new characters. It's essentially still versus. You're playing 5v5.
Okay.
But it's a perks thing, kind of like that Halo 5 game mode. I'm trying to remember what that was called.
Oh, well, with the 3 like faction things going all at once?
I think it was called. It's not Firefight. I know that's from Reach.
Yeah.
Essentially, you got so many points, and you could like upgrade your weapons.
Okay.
Like, get a mech drop. You remember that?
A little bit. I didn't really play much of 5's multiplayer, or of Halo 5's multiplayer.
You played Halo 5.
Yeah.
Do you remember that game mode? What it was called?
I played the story, but I don't really remember that much.
It wasn't part of the story, but it was the online. But either way, like, in this quick play version, it's more of that arcadey kind of thing. And after you get a couple kills, or just if you keep dying, they'll even give you like pity points, essentially.
Yeah.
and you can just all of a sudden get one of the freaking new hammers and just go on a tearing spree and just start destroying people that way. So like it's a great way for newcomers of multiplayer, being on Game Pass. If a kid or somebody younger, even though it's a mature game, doesn't have a lot of experience playing online, it's very accessible as far as going on there and feeling like you're still being rewarded even if you're not number one on your leaderboard. So
Okay.
So I asked for this game for Christmas, and I was just wondering, like, what should I jump into? Should I just jump right into the story? Should I mess around with some other things?
What do you like, though? Do you like story? Do you like chilling back on the couch and being on your own, or do you like the more competitive element?
I'm not really big into the competitive, like even with Battlefront 2 and stuff. I've never, like, I enjoy playing online sometimes for fun, but I'm not big into the competitive side.
Yeah, I would definitely say campaign would be your best bet, but escape I think is a good way to kind of, work together with other people online. You could even potentially play that game or game mode on your own. It's a little bit difficult, and depending on what maps you're given, can be practically impossible just because you need 3 people sometimes. But either way, it's a great game. Definitely a good gift if you do get it for the holidays.
I have a question for Mike, actually. I'm curious why you're wearing winter gloves in this 70-something degree house right now.
Getting a little chilly?
Chilly digits.
Chilly in here?
I don't know. I just wanted to change my style, I guess.
Let the guy be comfortable.
Okay.
That's fine. But yeah, I guess the thing is, and not that I necessarily have a problem, but as you being like a fan of Gears and all this, like there's a lot of multiplayer modes going on. So do you feel like you'd want to see? Do you like them just continue to expand on the modes they have, or would you like to see them? Do you think they should pare down and focus more? That's my last question.
They've definitely pared down and focused more. Originally, right out of the gate, they only had 4 game modes: Execution, Guardian, King of the Hill, and Team Deathmatch.
That still sounds like a fair amount, but yeah.
Fair amount, but like Gears traditionally, it's usually had about 8 game modes.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, even Gears 4 had too many, I will say, and I think they knew that, which is why they really shrunk it down. They've expanded though a little bit more recently again with that free for all, free play, whatever they're calling it, that new DLC. But yeah, good.
Would you consider yourself a professional Gears player?
Not
I would. I'd say you were.
Okay, well, thank you for all that on Gears. Paul, what have you been playing?
So, before I start with that, Ryan mentioned earlier that we're recording this podcast on Friday the 13th of December, so I just wanted to wish Taylor Swift a happy 30th birthday.
There you go.
As my friends know, Taylor Swift's been my celebrity crush probably for the last decade, and, maybe she'll listen to this podcast and find out that I'll be that guy that she's been looking for this whole time, and she's been writing these songs about these losers,
You can be her next album, Paul.
That's right. Yeah, it could be. So anyway,
Well,
just wanted
to be your album.
Just wanted to mention that. Had to throw in the birthday shout out to Taylor for the big 3-0. So anyway, on to the game that I've been playing. Oddly enough, for some reason, I've been really into phone games lately. I don't know. I think it's just because they're so easy. And I haven't had a ton of time to get into like console games these days, but phone games are just so easy. You've always got your phone on you. You can just play it real quick, whatever. So the game I want to talk about that I've been playing is Mario Kart, the new Mario Kart, which came out, I think, just a couple months ago. So to start with, this is, I guess you'd call it, yes?
What kind of phone are you playing it on?
I have an iPhone X.
Cool.
So pretty new, not the newest, but,
Do you know if it's available on Android?
It is.
Cool.
Yes, Mark just confirmed it is.
There we go.
So there we go, yeah. So this is, I believe, what you would call a freemium game, which I know a lot of people aren't fans of. So the game is free to download, free to play, but it has a lot of features that you could pay for, like, you could pay for coins to buy stuff or rubies or whatever it might be.
Can't even play as Mario unless you pay for them, right?
No, I got Mario. You have to unlock them, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but you don't have to pay for them. I'm sure you could. But so the way I'm going to kind of go through this game today is reviewing it as a free game because I haven't paid for anything. I personally wouldn't pay for anything. So, but in my opinion, it's a really fun free game. So that's kind of the way I'm going to look at it when I talk about it. So to kind of go over the basic gameplay, because I think Mike is the only other one who's actually gotten into it here other than me.
Yeah, not a big mobile game fan myself.
Yeah, so it's
select few, but for the most part, I try to stay away from freemium if I can.
I never used to be, and then like I said, I think maybe just because it's so easy. It's
Every
just
once in a while, there's really good ones, and
yeah.
Nintendo's been trying.
No, it's fun, but so basically, the game, everybody knows how Mario Kart works. So with this one, you have a tour, and within that tour, there's cups, different cups. I want to say maybe there's like 10 cups per tour or something like that, maybe a little bit more.
Sounding very Mario Kart.
Right, and then within those cups, there's 4 different levels.
Okay.
So your goal isn't just to get first place in each race. Your goal really is to try to get 5 stars, and you get those 5 stars, or the grand stars as they call them, by accomplishing certain things and getting points throughout the race. So, so first place does count for a good amount of points, but you could do a lot of other things that will add you up points where you might get 5 stars even if you don't necessarily finish in first place.
Okay.
So you said there's objectives then tied to like each actual race? Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll give you an example. So like you get points if you do like a turbo, is that what they call it? Like the super or turbo or super turbo, you get a certain amount of points for that.
Okay.
If you do like a jump boost, you get a certain amount of points for that. You get a certain amount of points for how long you glide. Different things of that nature. So drifting, yeah, things like that you get points for. So in theory, you could finish in like 3rd place, but still get 5 stars on the level, which is the max amount because of all the other things that you did.
Now, like you have the objectives for the stars. Is that how you unlock the next course? Or?
Yeah, so eventually, you need a certain amount of stars to unlock the next cup.
Okay.
And you also, stars will also unlock special items for you. So like at a certain point, you get a star and you get, I think it's called a gift. And, it's like a mystery gift or whatever. So you might get a new something that'll like raise your glider points, or something that'll raise your kart points, or you might get coins or whatever it might be. So stars are kind of valuable for a couple different things. But yeah, so the levels are kind of, there's a lot of classic Mario Kart levels in there. There's Rainbow Road, there's Luigi's Mansion, there's Waluigi's Pinball for Mark, and Mark loves Waluigi.
So the tracks, they're obviously carrying over classic themes, but from your experience like playing like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and stuff, do you feel like these tracks are like carried over from that, or are these like new versions of that theme?
No, most courses are carried. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, because you know more about the
most courses are carried over from like previous games, from like 3DS or N64 or any of those systems.
And it'll tell you too. It'll say like whatever the course name is, SNES or.
They usually make like each tour. They usually make one new course. Or one.
But if you were like to compare them, they'd basically be like the same turns and stuff as like on the console versions. Okay, that's cool.
They add some more stuff like as you go along. Like they might add some more jumps or things like that.
Okay.
But yeah, so like Mike just mentioned, they add some new levels each tour. So about every 2 weeks or so, they you finish up this current tour and you get placed on like with a certain ranking, and then you tier up based on where you place, and then a new tour starts. So like for example, this week I think it's the London tour, so they have like a London level. The week before, or I don't remember if it was the week before, but I know they had like a Paris tour. And they kind of theme it around the season. Like right now, all the levels have like Christmas trees in them, and then around Halloween they had like a lot of like the Luigi's Mansion type stuff.
Oh, that's neat.
So anyway, they also have characters. Obviously, a lot of Mario characters. You get plenty of those, and you unlock those as you go along by getting the stars
and your favorite
coins. I don't know. I was talking about this with Mike earlier. So not Peachette. I just got her. So I kind of base my favorites on their specials. Peachette's special is kind of useless. I like Bowser. I unlocked him, and he's got the like Bowser shell that he throws, which is pretty awesome. I like Yoshi because he's got that like homing Yoshi egg, which is cool.
Okay, so that sounds like it's something that's unique to the mobile. So are there still the classic random items on the courses?
Yes. So that's the same as usual. You get the question mark boxes. And now, so it depends. So each character, has like levels that they're good at. So like, let's say you're playing with Peach in a certain course that's like her specialty course.
Okay.
When she gets the question mark boxes, she'll get 3 of them.
Oh.
But like, let's say you don't have her unlocked and you don't have anybody at that top tier.
Yeah.
You might only get somebody that unlocks one question or one item with a question mark box. Same thing goes for the carts and the gliders. So you get a cart, and if it's a cart that's like specific for that level, it's at like the third tier or whatever, so you get more points per whatever you do. Same with the glider. If it's at that third level, you get more points per whatever you do, which I think is kind of a cool touch. But yeah, so they add, each character has a special that you can get based off one of those random item boxes. So like, for example, like I said, Bowser has like a Bowser shell that he throws. Yoshi's got a homing egg. Peach has like a little heart shield around herself. Diddy Kong like throws a bunch of bananas. Some of the specials I don't care for. The reason we mentioned Peach earlier is because her special is that she just shoots out a bunch of mushrooms, which the reason I don't care for it that much is because other people could use it too. So like
the boost mushrooms.
Yeah. So other characters that are driving could take those mushrooms and use them too. She just shoots them out. It helps to use it if you're on like a straightaway because you shoot them right in front of yourself and then you just go. But if you're shooting them in like a random place or if you're in the middle of a turn, they just kind of shoot everywhere. And so then other people can pick them up. So that's kind of weird. But
I can see
high risk, high reward type of.
Yeah,
I see that ability. I guess it's probably supposed to be if you're to use it. Aggressively, it's a matter of like you're trying to get people to basically accidentally lose track of where they are and dash because they look at the speed boost immediately when the mushroom hits them and then like dash off the track. Of course. So. But I see what you're saying. That like especially if you try to use it on straightaway for you, but it's like neck and neck. Other people are picking them up. And,
it's a little bit of a challenge.
Do racers still have different stats? Or I thought I heard there's like what's the customization like?
Well, so everybody starts off with like. They have like points. So, for example, let's say I'm using Yoshi and he's at 500 points, and I don't know, Peach is at like 630 or something like that. Okay. So, like I said, that counts towards your points of finishing the level and getting your 5 stars. So, and you get more points for that character as you play as them. So, once you complete that particular course. You know, let's say you complete it with Yoshi, he gets more points.
They level up?
Yes, they level up.
And their stats will go up?
I don't think it's necessarily their stats.
Do they have stats?
No, they don't. Do they, Mike? It's more. Okay. It's just the points. So their points go up, and then that kind of makes them more valuable because. So like, let's say Yoshi is at 500 points. The cart you're using is at 300 points, and the glider you're using is at 300 points. That's how many points you start with. So what is that? 1,200 points? I can't do math. 1,100 points, actually, I think.
Sure.
So you start with 1,100 points, and then you pick up more points as you go along, like I mentioned earlier. And then each course to get 5 stars is different. Some courses are a little bit harder, so they might be lower, maybe 6,000 to get 5 stars. Another one might be like 9,000 to get 5 stars.
I'm assuming everything combined has like stats, but it's nothing that they don't show you.
Yeah,
it's not like in the console version where you can kind of see like acceleration, traction, all that stuff. Okay,
they more have like special. Like I said, with each character has their own special ability. Yeah, a cart and the glider does too. Like there's certain gliders that like. This particular glider increases your chances of getting a green shell. This particular glider increases your chances of getting a banana or things along that nature. So,
okay, because my next question was, is there cart customization, or does everyone have like their own signature cart now, or how does that work on the phone in the mobile version?
No, there's no cart customization. Anybody could use any cart. To my knowledge, nobody. I mean, there's certain carts that like look better, like are clearly meant for people. Like there's a type of cart that definitely goes with Donkey Kong, a cart that definitely goes with Bowser, but you don't have to use it. They're not like specifically for them. So so there's not really.
It's like the whole cart, or like so there are different carts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. So you said you haven't paid for anything.
Yes.
So what does the game? What does the game want you to spend money on, or what is there to spend money on?
So from what I've seen, so that you get these, they're like rubies. These are like red rubies, and you could use them. 5 of them will get you to like basically do like a shoot out of this pipe, and you get a random item. It could be a new character. It could be a new cart. It could be maybe
So,
just some
a loot box, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that, and
But
then
you can also do these courses where you collect gold coins, and then you go in the shop and you purchase the characters.
Right.
And you can use the
Specifically.
rubies towards that
Yes.
collecting coins.
yeah, so 5 rubies will also get you in that coin course where you just go through and collect coins, and then you could use those coins to buy new characters or new carts or whatever. So,
So, is there anything that's locked? It sounds like that coin mode, but it is locked. But is there anything else that's locked just behind rubies, or is there always an alternate freeway that you can just spend time on to get whatever
to
you
my
want?
knowledge, there's always
Eventually.
an alternate freeway.
Okay.
But it would be very difficult without spending money. So, for example, they have like special characters or like higher tier characters, whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
And there could be like 12,000 coins. And without actually paying for it, it would take forever to get to 12,000 coins. So
Yeah.
you could, in theory, get to it for free, but it's definitely meant, like, they're definitely
Yeah.
wanting you to pay for it.
Yeah.
Do they disclose the odds of getting the characters through those random loot drops?
I don't think so. They just tell you, they kind of show you like the special ones that are available in this particular.
That's been the hot commodity in the loot boxes lately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so let me see what else was I going to say about it. So, but it's fun. I mean, it's Mario. There's a lot of cool characters.
I was gonna say, I heard also people are mad because of there's like a subscription type service.
I did see
you
that too.
that?
Yeah, I've seen that there's a subscription.
Is that
so,
new?
No, it's always had it. It's
I don't know. I'm guessing like you probably with a subscription
Oh, it's
you get
$10, right?
you get a certain amount of.
It's $4.99 a month for that game, and then so each like the gifts they have unlocks, and you unlock one thing on the gift out of 3. So there's 2 that you don't.
The 2
get.
they're like the gold pass.
Yeah, you get those with the gold pass. One of my buddies subscribed for the gold pass.
Yeah.
How much is that? Or that's the $5?
That's the $4.99 a month. So.
Which I guess isn't too bad if you're really into it.
Do you get
but-
like
Yeah.
any free rubies or extra gold coins, or is it literally just like like you get quick access to some items?
Some of the gifts are.
Yeah, so
rubies.
Oh, okay.
like I was mentioning earlier, you get a gift after like a certain amount of stars gets you a gift, which it can
Yeah.
be like a glider upgrade or a card upgrade or whatever. And like Mike said, there will be 2 gifts that you get for free, and then 2 that they show are like gold items, which are the monthly subscription items. So
Okay.
you would get kind of like 2 extra items for each gift is one of the things you would get.
Are there daily login bonuses like other mobile games?
Yes, they go for 10 days
Okay.
in a row. Like you get each day, you get a prize or whatever for logging in up to 10 days, which is kind of cool.
Okay, and then just since this is Mario Kart, is there any actual head-to-head multiplayer, or is it just kind of like the Ghost Online thing where you just see names, but it's like Ghost Data or something, or it's like fake multiplayer?
I believe it's just the ghost data. I don't think you could put because I'm friends with Mike on it, but we
Yeah.
can't play each other to my knowledge.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, so maybe it's
Even for
something
just for
they'll-
local, not like online.
Yeah,
but yeah.
maybe
That's
it's something
interesting.
they'll add in the future. Now, like when you're playing in the race against 7 other people, they have names and everything. So I mean,
Right.
I'm guessing they're real people, but just ghosts.
Right,
like you
yeah,
said,
pulled
like it's
from
not
the-
exactly
from the online database.
right. So, so yeah, it's cool though. It's got a good variety of. I like the variety of levels. I like the variety of characters. It has gotten a little bit stale since it started. At first, I was unlocking a lot of characters. They've kind of stopped with like a
Yeah,
lot of the
that-
character releases.
That seems like that's how it would go.
So I was just wondering, out of 10, what would you give?
Oh, I was going to ask you the same question.
I
Beat me
would.
to it.
I'd probably give it a 7. Now, to be honest, if I had this as a console game, I would probably not rate it that high. But as a phone game, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, it's a fun game to just throw on. I usually play. I try to play at least 1 cup a day. I just it's something to do after I get home from work, or if I'm just not doing anything, or if I'm bored, just throw it on and play some races. So if I had it as a console game, I probably wouldn't be as into it. But just for a quick, easy, fun, free phone game, I think 7 out of 10 is reasonable.
That sounds fair. So then to ask you, if you were to take something from the Mario Kart Mobile that you, or what's the official title? The Mario Kart Tour?
Yeah.
Mario Kart Tour, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. If there was a feature you'd like to see Nintendo bring from Mario Kart Tour into the inevitable Mario Kart 9, is there something, or would you
I love the specials.
So the individual character specials?
I think that's cool because it kind of makes the characters stand out to me. Like I said, I like using Yoshi because he's got that cool homing egg. I don't like using this other person maybe because they don't have a special I like as much. So it kind of gives them a differentiation. Also, another thing I forgot to mention earlier, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is unique to the mobile games as well, is the Frenzy mode. So the characters who are at that top tier for that particular level and are able to get the 3 boxes.
Okay.
If you get 3 of the same item, it creates what they call a frenzy mode. So let's say you get 3 red shells. While you're in that frenzy mode, you just keep shooting out red shells and shooting out red shells.
Oh, wow.
And you're getting points the whole time you're in frenzy mode, too. You're getting points for being in frenzy mode.
Okay.
And it kind of makes you like invincible, too. Like you can cut across like grass and you could run into people and stuff like that. So it's only a matter of maybe 10 seconds you're in frenzy mode for, but it's pretty cool, and so I like that. I like that too. Another thing I forgot to mention earlier, we were talking about some of the challenges. They do have, separate from the race itself, they have a lot of like different challenges, like throughout they have tour challenges. So throughout the particular tour, it's like land a hit with X amount of bananas throughout the tour, or finish in a race, first place in a race this amount of times, or whatever. And then they have some smaller ones, like there's a snowy Donkey Kong level, and it's like knock over 10 snowmen and stuff like that. So that's all kind of cool. But so overall, I would say solid free mobile game. So if I were to give my recommendation, I would definitely recommend to download and play it, but I couldn't recommend to pay for it because I haven't. So, but as a free, fun mobile game, I'd say, yeah.
Have you paid any money? I know you've played as well.
No, I haven't paid any money, but another big thing that I was going to say about the game is that they have like a ranking system. So each tour, there's like a individual cup that gets ranked, and depending on how you do on those 4 races, you can move up and other people can surpass you in the rankings, and at the end of that, I don't know, whatever time period they set, you'll earn rubies or coins based on how well you rank, and you move up in the tiers as you get better.
And it gets harder. So like at the beginning, I was like moving up tiers like crazy, but now like the last time they did it, I didn't even move up a tier because it was getting so hard. This particular time, I finally moved up another tier, but so naturally it gets harder as you go along. So
yeah, it'll be curious to see if they do carry over like that frenzy mode, because you said you can stock like up to 3 items. So right now we're Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we can stock 2 items, but like if they add more, I wonder, because that might change the controls, and they've always aimed for kind of how do you feel about the controls? You didn't really talk about how it like feels to play, because like how does it work on the screen?
It took a little while to get used to.
What do you have to do? What's like?
So you just touch your thumb on the screen and then move left to right, and they give you an arrow. I think you could turn it off if you wanted to have it more difficult, but they give you like an arrow in front of you, which makes it a little bit easier to steer.
Auto accelerate?
No, you have to press your thumb down.
Okay, and can you like brake in reverse, or is it kind of you'll always kind of be?
You'll always you'll always be auto-corrected, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Also, another thing which I kind of like is it's very difficult to like fall off a course. You know how like Rainbow Road, for example, is very easy to fall off. It's really difficult. You really have to do a lot to fall off, which I like, because with trying to control on a mobile game would be very difficult if you were falling off all the time. So really the only ways I've fallen off is like if I'm in the middle of like a jump and somebody hits me with a shell and then I fall down or something like that. But like overall, like if you're trying to cut a corner really fast, it just kind of like bumps you in. Like it's almost like it has an invisible wall or something like that, which, like I said, for a mobile game, I kind of like that.
Okay. And that's funny because I think it's funny how we talked about everything minus how it controlled until the very end.
So. Control is a big. It took me a while to get used to, but for a mobile game, it's not a bad control, because I know sometimes it could be a little bit of a challenge, especially for a driving game on a mobile device. But
cool, yeah. That's really good. And obviously Mike chimed in a bit, but Mike has his own game he wants to talk about today. So Mike, what have you been playing?
I've been playing the new Pokemon Sword game.
#Dexit. Sorry.
I'm not really mad that they didn't include the whole Pokedex.
Still like 400 monsters, but that does mean like half of them got left out, which is interesting. So like
They'll be in future games. I'm not really.
So
To me, that doesn't bother me.
Okay, so yeah, which version are you playing?
I'm playing the sword version.
Okay, have you beaten it yet? Have you beaten the campaign?
No, actually, have not beaten
Okay.
the campaign. I don't know, I played about 10 hours of it, maybe.
How many badges do you have?
I have 5 badges.
Okay.
It's similar to previous games where you just go along and collect your badges. There's this new, like, battle area in the game, which is, like, this big central area where you can go back and...
The wild area, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's like the big kind of their attempt at open world, right?
Right. You can also team up with other people in that area and do... I don't know if you're familiar with Pokemon Go.
A little bit, but yeah, what are you getting at?
You can do, like, raid battles with other people. So
Oh, yeah,
I
okay.
had a group of people over my parents' house, and
4 people?
yeah.
Okay.
And we all teamed up to fight, like, a Pokemon. And a new mechanic in the game is Dynamaxing. I don't know if you're familiar with it, where the Pokemon gets, like, super big, like, twice as big as normal. And so all 4 of you essentially go up against this one Pokemon, and once you defeat it, you have a chance to catch it after.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, how are you feeling about the quality of life improvements? Because I've heard like the game is changed a lot in that regard, and they've been making steps over the last couple. I haven't really played. I played X and Y, and they did like EXP share was something you got like right away, and you can toggle on and off. So why don't you talk about how you feeling about this game compared to like the old ones, and what have you played before?
So as far as like the share item, like you don't even need it in this game. It just automatically shares XP with all the Pokemon, or experience points with all the Pokemon without even needing the XP share. And then there's also the travel. Like in the original games, you needed to get the HMs in order to, and they had to be attached to a Pokemon to be able to go from one area to another area.
Yeah, they took up a move slot.
But now you just get like a service or something, and you click on the map where you want to fly to, and it takes you to that area. There's like a little shuttle that takes you to that area.
I also heard like the escape rope is now like an infinite reusable item, so you can just escape dungeons whenever.
Yeah,
That's super cool. Neat. But yeah, like how do you feel about the XP share? Like now that all your Pokemon just by default are getting all the experience, how do you feel that's affected your gameplay?
I'm cool with it. I mean, I mostly just played through the story in the past. I haven't really gotten that into like the competitive side that much, really.
Sure. I mean, like campaign, do you feel like you're progressing at the pace you want to? Do you feel like it's too easy, too hard, or like what about that in regards? Because I've heard some comments on from different online critics about that. So, what's your opinion?
I mean, I don't know. I've been enjoying it.
Okay.
So it doesn't really bother me that it's quicker than previous games.
Okay. What do you think of the new Pokemon? We're not going to talk about the number, but like, what do you think of some of the new creatures? Do you like their designs, or do you find yourself going back to old favorites, or how's that going for you?
So my team is mostly comprised of like the new Pokemon. I went with the Fire Starter. I think it's Scorbunny. And I really like a lot of the designs. I think they're pretty creative and interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it's hit or miss again. I looked through the online decks as soon as it leaked and looked at all the different creatures. And you mentioned the Dynamax and how there is some Pokemon that can Gigantamax, which means they get a very unique form, kind of like Mega Evolution, which is not present in this game. But as like some people may have seen from other trailers, like Charizard's in the game again, and Charizard gets a Gigantamax form, and it doesn't really look like the other ones. It's a new form, and same thing.
Right.
But like then there's cool references like Pikachu can Gigantamax, and he kind of looks like Fat Pikachu.
The trading card.
Yeah, from the old trading card, which was a really cool callback. And then there's some characters and stuff like that change in other ways. So how do you feel like about them changing up those mechanics, like Mega Evolution going away and being replaced with this, or like the Z moves and things? What were your opinions of those versus like this Gigantamax system?
It's kind of weird how like they introduce new stuff like that, and then in the next game they're gone. Like, because that changed the forms of the Pokemon as well as the giant. Dynamax thing, and I don't know, it's interesting.
Would you prefer to like have something back, or would you want like a combination of these things? Like personally, where are you feeling on the feature set here? As a Pokemon fan, what do you?
I really don't have that many complaints about the game, honestly.
Okay.
I've enjoyed playing it, and that's all I...
What would you say, do you think its like staying power is, and like how much will it hold up? Because I remember, I to be truthfully honest, for whatever reason, I've never got into Pokemon. I feel like it was maybe just barely slightly after my time, like a year after, like I didn't really know anybody my age that played it, but like everybody that was like a year or more younger than me was playing it. So anyway, so I don't know a ton about it, but I remember a couple of years ago, it seemed like everybody was into Pokemon Go. Like, that was the thing everybody was doing. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was on their phones doing it. And then it was just, like, gone one day, and everybody stopped playing it, and nobody talked about it anymore. So, like, whereas I feel like a lot of the older Pokemon games still hold up really well and still get talked about. And so how would you say, in the long term, do you think this one, is this going to be one that in a couple of years people are just going to forget about and it's going to disappear? Or is this going to be one that in years to come is like, wow, this is a classic Pokemon game? And Ryan's opening a pop in the background. If you...
Well, essentially, I don't think that this game is like revolutionary or anything. Like, it's similar to previous Pokemon games, and I think it will help hold up just as well as those. But I don't think it's like, I don't think 10 years down the road I'm gonna be like, oh, Pokemon Sword and Shield, my favorite games
Classic.
ever.
Yeah.
Let's go back and play those.
Right.
Whereas, like, I'll go back and play, like, Soul Silver or Heart Gold, which are Silver and Gold remakes. Like, I'd still go back and play those. But, I mean, within the Pokemon community, I guess Pokemon Go is still prevalent. Like, I mean, I know it's niche, but it's still played by a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah, it just seemed like I could remember when it came out a couple years ago. It was like literally people who didn't even play Pokemon. It was like everybody was doing something. I could see everybody walking around with everybody's walking around with their phones looking for Pokemon. It seemed like a cool concept, but then it just seemed like it died out. So like you said, I'm sure a lot of Pokemon fans still play it.
I don't know if it's
like a mainstream
niche. Yeah, I think it's just people aren't as loud and vocal about it.
Maybe that's what it is.
But I think people, because I've got some other friends that are still like definitely playing it, and one friend who's one of those crazy people who owns like multiple phones and has had banned accounts from cheating and stuff. But yeah, there's still low key events here and there, and I think people are just quietly going to them.
Maybe it's just like
they're still they're still adding Pokemon. They're still doing.
Maybe
events.
It was just like at the beginning. It seemed like there were so many people. Like it pulled in a lot of non-Pokemon fans. So maybe after a while those people kind of left. So now it's still the Pokemon fans playing it, but it just doesn't seem like as much as before because it was like God. It seemed like it was
running
like,
down the middle. Of the
I couldn't. I'm like everybody I would see is like, I gotta find the Pokemon here. So
yeah, and Go's got the novelty, like you were saying. It's like it's on your phone. It's super easy, so people just have it. And there's people because people don't want to buy a Game Boy or they don't want to buy a Switch, and but they liked Pokemon because they did play it or borrowed the Game Boy, and then they just played a little bit.
Mark was about to say something, but I'm going to rudely interrupt him. At the time, it was kind of like a novel concept, and it almost like brought you into the Pokemon world because you were like interacting, where you could see the Pokemon, or, instead of just like the Pokemon are in the game, it was almost like the Pokemon are here, they're in my backyard or whatever. So I think that appealed to a lot of people. It seemed like kind of an interesting concept at the time.
Yeah, I think diving into, because I think we all have maybe some ideas about Pokemon, or I know I was a big Pokemon fan for the first couple generations, and Mike is still going on that, and it seems like we all got some sort of history with that. So that might be great to go into on another episode, because I've got my ideas and like what I would have thought Go is. And there's also the new mobile game called Pokemon Masters that I was more interested in, but it's different than what Go is, and more akin to what I would have wanted. I haven't played it yet, but from the trailers I saw.
Oh, I was going to say I downloaded it, but I never played it.
You never played it. So, yeah, that might be something. But then, Mark, what do you want to say?
Mark had a question like 5 minutes ago.
So Ryan mentioned on the top of the hour about what version of Pokemon that you were playing. You were mentioning that you were playing Sword.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the fact that they split it out and have 2 games and you can't really get the full Pokemon experience unless you spend, $120 for both editions?
I wouldn't say it's the experience. There's certain Pokemon you can only get with each version, but you could trade with somebody else to get those Pokemon. There isn't
You could carry characters that are exclusive to one edition over from trading?
Yeah, you could trade online or...
Okay.
Yes.
And yeah, like what Mike was saying, they've done the multi-edition thing forever, and only early on were they doing like the 3rd edition that was sort of like a hybrid thing, but they've stopped that ever since they started doing Black and White 2 back in the DS days. And the whole point of Pokemon was always, you get one edition, your friend has another, and that social, like, oh, we're trading. Yeah. And they still have online trading. They don't have the global trade center like they did from the past games, but they still do have online trading, so you can do it. I've heard it's more frustrating. I don't know how much that affects your gameplay, but it is different now. But yeah, you don't have to buy it, but it is.
Yeah.
But that's always kind of been Pokemon. So
and that's one thing. I haven't dove into Pokemon myself, so that's why I wasn't quite sure. But I was just wondering if you felt strongly about they should have everything on one edition and have it accessible to all.
You look like a Pokemon right now.
But yeah, Mike, what's your opinion on that? Are you feeling like you're getting tired of it? Obviously, you only bought one version, but like, do you still like that? Do you not care, or would you prefer them to do something different?
I mean, in the past, yeah, I've gotten like both versions, but I mean,
everyone's making weird hand gestures here, throwing off Mike's game. No, keep going. What?
No. Like in the past, I've gotten both versions of the game, but I don't feel like I want to stop playing the game or anything like that. I haven't fatigued out of it. Like, I still like the concept of it. I do think that the both version thing is kind of evil because a lot of Pokemon players, like, are obsessed with collecting them all. So obviously they're going to be obsessed with getting both versions of the game.
Tagline is literally "gotta catch them all."
Yeah,
which they've downplayed over time in their marketing, but yeah, it's true.
Well, I'm sure that's why they put out different versions, because they know people will buy them.
And people always do.
Yeah.
So what would you give it out of 10?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't finished it yet, to be honest. So
how you feel? Then just a preliminary. This is just preliminary and is subject to change.
Maybe a 6 or 7 so far.
Interesting. Okay.
And where would you rate it compared to some of the other Pokemon? I know there's a lot of them, but would you put it? So you don't have to necessarily give me an exact number, but somewhere in the middle of somewhere towards the end. High.
Well, what I really like, I mean, obviously the graphics could have been a lot better.
You really. That's the one thing where I say people are being a little too harsh on the graphics because it's Pokemon. They're supposed to be cartoony. Right. So is there like anything specific? I've seen some criticism about why they look weird, but like, what's your specific criticism?
There's a lot of like copy and paste.
Okay,
so,
yeah, all right.
In the battle area, like, you'll notice there's like these tree assets that they look like they took right out of the 3DS and copy and pasted them all over the place.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But there's other areas that look really nice. But it's a really good looking Pokemon game compared to the previous ones. But should I be comparing it to the previous games, or should I be comparing it to like what the Switch is able to do? Like, the Switch can do more than I don't know. Maybe I'm not explaining it right. But
I kind of get what you're saying.
It's more powerful than any of the previous Nintendo consoles, so it should be able to look that much better.
Right.
I think it seems like Sword and Shield have maybe had a bit of a troubled development. It seems like Game Freak, like, they've been trying to do more and more 3D development with Pokemon over the last couple generations, but it definitely feels like maybe them trying to rush this Pokemon schedule, because they did did you play Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee?
Yeah, I got a free Pikachu.
Okay, and yeah, like their graphics were pretty good, right? Would you say their stuff looked pretty good? Or
Yeah, it did.
you liked it better than what you're seeing in currently in Sword and Shield?
So, yeah.
So yeah, it seems like, but like, I'm guessing they were working on Sword and Shield while they were working on Let's Go, but it definitely seems like maybe this game maybe needed more time.
I think so.
Do you think you'd be okay? Like, would you be willing to wait for like 3 to 4 years for like a new Pokemon if it was like more likely to be like way more improved?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think that they're going to do a remake next year of Diamond and Pearl. That's my own.
Do you think that's warranted, or do you feel like, because I know obviously they went up to Ruby and Sapphire, do you feel like the remakes are warranted still, or do you think it's it's kind of overkill?
I want it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine. I'm just curious because that's one of those things where, like, I'm not necessarily opposed to remakes, but obviously, Red and Blue, which have been remade twice now, and Let's Go is kind of more based off of Yellow version, but like Gen 1 and Gen 2 are like the big ones that everyone grew up on, is familiar with, and really gets in there. But then as we went on, it's like where does the nostalgia stop?
I think Diamond and Pearl would be a good cutoff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's my opinion.
And then side note, I want to kind of two things. So I'm going to ask this to you, and then I have a question for Mark because I forgot to mention this with Gears, since we're latest news.
Gears.
So for Pokemon, what about? Because obviously there's missing Pokemon, and they're going to try and fill that in with as the week go on with the newer generations. What is your feeling about them perhaps making like a new Pokemon Coliseum / Stadium game on the Switch, where the focus is just getting all the Pokemon with like battling and mini games? Like, would you be open to that as a Pokemon fan, or do you prefer the straight up campaign games?
I would take another Stadium. Yeah, I would definitely take another Stadium game.
Cool. Yeah, me too. I think that'd be really fun with a more battle-focused thing, and that'd be like a one place. Because then, without fleshing out the campaign, there could still be like the mini games and stuff like that.
And then they could focus a lot more on improving like the graphics, and maybe even use those in the main series game.
Yeah, I'm thinking same thing would be pretty cool. And then bouncing over to Mark, since yesterday was the Game Awards.
Yeah.
I don't know why Mark has a giant 4.6 on his phone.
I'll get to that in just a second.
Okay. So I got to ask you, because there was a bunch of big announcements yesterday, as you are our resident Xbox fan over here.
Yes.
General Microsoft fan.
What is your interest level in Gears Tactics?
I think that kind of summarizes it all. So I've never actually played an XCOM game, and I think that's kind of where they get their inspiration from most of all. I was excited the fact that they're, again, kind of taking a whole new path. I think I was talking with my brother earlier today about E3 2018. They dropped 3 different brand new Gears games all in one show. It was just bam, 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 one after the other. So
Right,
the fact that
Gears Funko obviously being the best game in the entire
Pop.
series.
Pop.
Or Gears Pop,
Yeah,
the
so
best
that
game in
was-
the entire Gears series, even
Of
better
course.
than Gears 1, 2, or 3.
Of course. So, yeah, Gears Pop was exclusive to mobile, Gears Tactics exclusive to PC, and then Gears 5, of course. Everybody knows that. I'm excited. It will also be on Game Pass, so no matter what, I will be trying it out. It's not something that I have to have preloaded and ready to go. Peter Dinklage, I believe, I need to fact check this. I'm pretty certain Peter Dinklage is actually voicing the main character. I don't know any of the characters' names, but it looks like they're taking a preliminary path from before even Gears 1, before Judgment Day.
If Peter Dinklage is in Gears, I hope he asks about the wizard from the moon. I know. That call back to Destiny. Peter Dinklage got screwed. I don't care.
What is Gears Tactics?
It's
Those of us who don't know.
for those that don't know, Gears Tactics is a PC exclusive. It's very similar to
It's going to be PC exclusive?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not.
They're not gonna do,
believe
like,
they're
Halo
not
Wars
going to
and-
be putting it on Xbox.
Did you play
unless-
Halo Wars at all?
Yes, limited.
Okay.
Wow,
Wow, that's interesting.
It's a turn-based, top-down strategy game. So think of, going cover to cover, like assigning where your players are going to go. They do their moves, they kill the other team, then the other team has their own turn. That kind of game. XCOM being the most popular. That I think is similar to that.
Yeah, I only saw some of the Game Awards, so I wasn't sure.
I missed most of it myself, but checked out all the trailers this morning on my day off, which was very nice. So going back to this 4.6, what I want to talk about. So
I can see Mark's phone, so I know where he's going with this.
So I pulled up Metacritic for each of the 4 games that we were talking about today, and just wanted to compare what
nice.
we
I
all
like this.
said
I like this.
as far as our ratings go versus what critics said versus also what users
I
said.
know what Metacritic said for my game.
So you were probably the closest, but maybe if you knew what they said, that kind of persuaded. But hopefully you're unbiased.
I don't always agree with that. I just like to know, and it helps me make my buy rent or leave it alone decision.
Yeah. So Mike, you had mentioned Pokemon Sword had about a 6.5. I think you said like a 60 or 7.
That's how you were
6 or
feeling at
7.
this moment where
Right.
you are in the game.
So critics say an 8 out of 10. User score of a few thousand, about 4,300 people have downvoted that game score down to about 4.6. I think a lot of that was
Trolls.
Yeah,
Definitely user
retaliation.
bombed.
Yeah.
4.6 out of 10?
Yeah.
Or out of, oh, wow.
So
Because of the Pokedex
let's
not
assume
being
that's
included.
filtered quite. I mean, we're not going to be able to extrapolate like a real accurate user score.
I mean, you could say it's 46 out of 100 because technically it's the
Right.
same scale.
Yeah.
right. 46
I thought it was out of
total.
5 at first, so I was like, wow, that's really good.
User scores out of 10.
Okay.
Critic scores out.
But
of
since I got the decimal point, it's almost the
Yeah,
same thing.
basically.
So it's so arbitrary. Metacritic's so weird.
Yeah, it is. Take it for what it's worth. In no way this is.
The user scores are
Something
always
cool to
overreactions,
look
whether
at
that's
that.
extremely positive or negative.
You mentioned Mario Kart Tour being
I said I'd give it about a 7.
a 7. The critics say about a 59 or close to about a 6. User score
Users hate
being
it.
about a 4, which there's only about 150
Yeah.
ratings. So I don't know if that's necessarily a retaliation or trolling.
Well, keep in mind too, though. Like I said, I'm rating it as a free game. Some people
Right.
might be rating this based on like maybe they paid for stuff and weren't happy with it.
Yeah.
Also,
there's loot box stuff. If you don't have a lot of
Yeah.
characters up front, and a lot of people want their favorite characters, and it sounds like
Right.
you can't get them right away.
so I was kind of just rating it as like a fun free game to play on my phone,
not having real multiplayer.
And like I
too,
said,
it's like,
I probably wouldn't have rated it as high had it been a console game. But yeah, for a fun free game on the phone, I don't know. Maybe I feel differently if I actually paid money for it. But
for a game like that too, I think it's also people have expectations. They've been playing it literally for decades.
yeah, everybody's got
or
like
for
some
more
sort
than
of
half
opinion
their
or
life.
expectations. Yeah,
Right.
on Mario, anything Mario.
And in general, the internet's very critical of mobile games, unless you find
Yes.
people who are much more open-minded
Especially
about mobile
the
games.
freemium type games. Like
Yeah,
you said,
oh, yeah.
A lot of people won't even get the game because
Yeah.
of that. Like my one buddy, we play online Mario Kart all the time, and he's like, "I won't get that mobile game. I don't want that."
Yeah, yeah.
See, I don't
kinda-
mind it.
I don't disagree with that, and I know Ryan was mentioning this earlier. As far as like freemium goes, like I've got a pretty large library as it is as far as games go. So why am I going to necessarily spend time, I guess, on a game that is free? I mean, there's really no other logic.
Everyone looks
beyond
at their
it
phone
than
on the bathroom.
that. True. So to continue the reverse
Look
around
at
the
that.
table. So I had mentioned 90, or I'd probably even say a little bit higher. I know I'm a little bit biased though. Metascore critics give it about an 84. We're talking Gears 5. And then user score actually 8.4. So dead on. So critics and users in this,
84. 84.
one perspective definitely agree. I think that's maybe a little bit low, but there's definitely, without spoiling anything, there's definitely warranted reason for that, and we'll leave it there. And then lastly, Ryan, you were mentioning I can't remember what.
I said like 8.5.
Okay, that's what I thought. So let's
Now-
say about an 85 or whatever.
Yeah, so
Metascore and user score is same thing here again. Metascore 80, user score 8.0.
So here I do have to. I'm going to ask you to look up a little bit more. So I know because the 3 different versions are rated differently. So please, we're looking at the PS4, which is 80 and 8.0. Please look at the PC one because I remember what the score was when I first looked on Metacritic.
So we have a Xbox One score of 81, and then PC score as an 81 as well.
Okay, so it did change because, I think within the first couple days when it first hit Metacritic, and the PC version was rated at a 90.
Wow.
So I'm sure just more critical reviews came in. And that happens, but yeah, it was right. It was being ranked higher, and there was a lot of the technical issues, and the PC is able to brute force through a lot of them. It was definitely it was 60 frames per second. The console version is 30, and there's.
We're just laughing at one of the worst games I've ever played. This game is, expletive broken. That's the thing with all reviews. I think
They
we
give
can
it
all
a
agree.
0.
Yeah, but it seems like they've all been.
So return the game and stop writing reviews. Like, what if you think it's the worst thing?
I don't know if I've ever played a game that I would give a 0. Like even some of the worst games I've played, I would at least. I can't say I've ever played a game that was worthy of like being bad enough to be a 0.
It's a great topic, and definitely something that we'll have to kind of dive into is the worst games of all time that we've all played.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put that on the topic list of like scorings and things. There's multiple topics we can go there. All right, guys, we have all talked about our games and we've had a lot of fun here. I think this is great. Once again, apologizing in case the sound quality is driving people nuts. We are just getting started here, and we want to make sure we're having fun, and we plan to improve as we continue to enjoy and do this. So we're definitely open to comments and feedback wherever we end up putting this up, and we look forward to delivering more fun commentary on video games and just other stuff in general, I guess, eventually in the pursuit of that. So
In the near future.
In the near future, or relative to whenever you're listening to this and you listen to the next one.
The next episode.
So once again, this has been the Option Menu Crew pilot episode on Friday the 13th, December of 2019.
Happy 30th birthday, Taylor.
There you go. I'm Ryan.
I'm Mark.
I'm Paul.
I'm Michael.
And we're signing off.
See you.
Thank you for listening to this podcast, and we will see you next time.